Matt just gave a lecture here, and I said Matt is one of my heroes because he always takes me to the next step of how to think. I don't know why, but you do. Say something. You take me to the next step.
Well, I just talked for a long time,
Right.
and everybody knows what I think, so I think it's
Right.
important to find out what everybody else thinks. But
Okay, I like that.
no, I'm really glad. But I will say I'm really, really glad to be here because I cherish all the time I spend with Arnold and everybody here. And the one thing that I like to look at, like if you think about, we all have this connection to Mother Nature. We all have this really good feeling about connecting to Mother Nature, that sort of nurturing feeling. We feel you just feel so special when you think about all these many systems and these circumstances that just happen to come together so perfectly to create this beautiful, colorful, vibrant, tasty, juicy existence. You know, it's absolutely incredible. So to think about your role in that, just meditating on that, it just makes you feel really good. It makes you feel like you have a place, and you start to understand the rhythm of the universe and how these things are coming together. But to then understand the microcosm of it all, and to see that you have that potential, you have that nurturing power to be that force. You know, this planet is just an ecosystem, but our body is an ecosystem. Mother Nature is this incredible force that puts so many things together in such the perfect way to be such a gracious and beautiful and just amazing concept or creation or idea. But we have that capacity. You know, our body is made up of so many different beings, so many different bacterias and tissues and cells and atoms, and that's sort of, in a way, it's in our dominion. We have our mind, our consciousness, our awareness has the ability to influence and affect all those many beings that are depending on this ecosystem. So when we sort of allow ourselves to understand the natural flow, and despite our different kind of urges to have this kind of tasty food or to do this that we might know is wrong, but we think, oh, what's it going to hurt? What's the difference? If we sort of keep that sort of maybe pureness, or that maybe that just harmony and that earnestness, then we can be that force that keeps everything in balance. You know, we can be that steadfast force that allows this natural harmony to permeate our body and all the beings that are there within it. And then we are that force that we're devoted to, that we honor so much, which then brings us a new understanding and a new depth of devotion that makes us, you know, feel so much more joyful and so much more a part of this whole universe. And then we can, you know, not only allow ourselves to feel like that, but in doing that, we are also allowing everybody else to have that same experience. Because when we allow nature to take its course, when we allow ourselves, when we surrender to the abundance of nature and let go of our fears that we're going to not have enough, that we need to do something more, create something more that's going to be there for us, because we just have this fear that we're not just going to, there's not enough abundance out there. If we allow nature to sort of take that role and take over, then we are allowing for everybody else to have that same opportunity, because we're not trying to step on anybody else or create any exploitation or to create any other rifts in the balance that's going to not allow anybody else to have their fair share and their opportunity to have that same acceptance and that same surrendering into what nature can give us. And the more simple you make your life, the more complex your understanding of the capacity of nature is, because then you start to allow her to show her full potential. It's, you know, it's if you're constantly propping up all these manufactured means to survive, then you're never allowing nature to show her true potential. You know, you're just blocking her out. If you're not allowing yourself, I mean, this system that we have, where we have certain people who build houses and certain people who, you know, fix cars, and certain people who grow our food for us, and all this kind of thing, and to the point where we have to find some arbitrary task to fill the hours of our day, so we can have this arbitrary currency, so we can go out and have the people who build the houses and grow the food give us that. You know, instead of actually being able to go out and participate in those incredible human attributes. I mean, as human beings, that's, you know, having shelter, growing food, finding food, participating in all these acts of humanity, all these innate human abilities, these innate human responsibilities, these roles of human life. We're surrendering that to a system and then trying to fill some empty role within that system so we can allow ourselves to have something that we caged from ourselves. It's a very obscure system that has nothing to do with freedom whatsoever. We are literally putting ourselves in these pretty crystal cages when out there is just a world of total abundance. And a lot of times it's because we're fearful, because nature is full of danger. Nature is full of the reflection of mortality. Because mortality scares the crap out of a finite mind, but at the same time, it's one of the most beautiful things in the world because it is life. The ability for us to die and go back into the ground is the staple of life, and it's the most beautiful thing that we can ever imagine. But we've somehow trained ourselves to fear that. So we keep ourselves in these prisons of security, and we create these very safe and practical systems that have nothing to do with nature, because if we're living trying to hide from death, that's the most unnatural thing that we can ever do. So we can't ever know nature if we don't face our mortality and embrace it.
Wait for it.
We basically had to come to gather the tribe.
Hold your breath.
It's crazy too, though.
Yeah, exactly.
The raw food life will affect people even who are in the surroundings and peripheries to it. And I know it was 3 years ago I met Matt, and he had told me it was one of the most enlightening things anyone had ever said in my entire life. No, it really was. We're sitting in my house. He was over in our game room, sitting on the pool table, and I was at this point in my life where I didn't know why I should live for myself. Where because there's so many other things you can live for. Why live for yourself? And Matt had said to me that in living for yourself, you will be able to give to other people more than you'd ever be able to if you don't live for yourself. And the way I'm saying it will never say it in the right way that he had, because how he totally opened my mind to he's totally right. If I am not healthy, if I am not at my point where I'm happy, fun-loving, have that energy, get to the point where you're feeling more of your senses, and I am not helping people around me nearly as much as I could be.
What have you done since you heard that statement?
This girl, her being happy is the most contagious thing ever. She's like a fairy. She dances around with such joy that it makes you have chills and just it makes you want that. It makes you want to be singing and dancing and being happy. That's what she does.
I'll tell you too, though, it would never be that way if it wasn't for you, because I graduated. But I was graduated from Villanova University with 3 business degrees, ready to go on and rob everybody out there. Take their lives away. And it caused me to turn around and actually look at myself, which I hadn't done at that point in time for 21 years. So what
did you wind up doing, by the way?
Oh, now I'm still figuring that out. I ended up dropping the whole business field and going into mental health and learning, because I realized that in my mind I was in a place that really inhibited me. And I was in that place for 20 years until I got a voice from someone else who really did change my life. It really did give me something to get somewhere else.
Mental health will disappear on a raw food diet. Mental health.
Your worries of mental health, not your mental health.
What?
You said your mental health will disappear on a raw food diet.
Negative.
Oh, absolutely insane.